Welcome to Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and really extract the clear, compelling insights from all that information out there. And today, we're embarking on, well, a truly unique exploration. It's drawn directly from the personal reflections of an independent author, someone we're calling our Stoic Samurai. This isn't just one single topic. Think of it more like a rich tapestry of thought. It weaves together everything from, the real nitty-gritty of multilingual book publishing and the cutting-edge potential of new AR technology, right through to these deep philosophical questions about sleep, suffering, and, well, modern society itself. It really feels like an intellectual adventure, and I'm genuinely keen to dive into it with you. So our source material for this deep dive is excerpts from this author's own pretty extensive musings. In these reflections, he really unpacks the journey of his book, Stoic Samurai. He shares his, palpable excitement over some groundbreaking augmented reality tech. And he also delves into these really personal meditations on things like insomnia, suffering, and just his observations on the human condition.
It feels raw, unfiltered, and it gives us this, well, unparalleled window into a truly active and contemplative mind.
Yeah, and what's particularly compelling about this material, I think, is how these topics, which seem so disparate, right?
Yeah.
Publishing, philosophy, tech, they don't just sit there in isolation. They actually interweave, and they reveal some pretty profound insights into how we navigate the complexities of the modern world. So our mission for this deep dive is exactly that. Let's try and extract the most important nuggets of knowledge here. We want to help you understand maybe some crucial aspects of modern productivity, the nuances of the human experience, and also how ancient wisdom, maybe surprisingly, can offer real comfort and perspective in this age of just constant information bombardment. We're not just looking at what this author thinks, but asking why his reflections might hold some significance for all of us today.
That's a really powerful mission statement. Okay, so where do we begin unpacking these fascinating reflections? Right, let's kick things off where the author's creative heart really beats with his book, A Stoic Samurai. What immediately jumps out, I think, is just the sheer scope of its journey. It was originally conceived and written in French, then it went through a full translation into English. But our author, well, he isn't stopping there. He apparently has this ambitious desire to also translate it into German. Now, this isn't just about writing a book, is it? It's about this relentless commitment to share a story across cultural barriers. That level of dedication, it's really something. It speaks volumes, I think, about the drive to connect with a global audience, language by language.
It absolutely does. And it shines a light on something that's maybe not discussed often enough about independent authorship. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the reality for creators like our Stoic Samurai often involves navigating these really significant bottlenecks in the publishing process. I mean, think about it. Traditional publishing houses, they have whole departments for translation, editing, distribution. But for an independent author, these are huge hurdles. Often they're cost prohibitive. Translation, like you said, is massive. It demands not just linguistic skill, but that cultural nuance, right? To make sure the message actually resonates authentically in a new language. And then there's editing. That's often where independent projects can stall or just become financially impossible. So what's truly remarkable here, and you touched on this, is the author's personal growth. His developing the capability to self-edit his own books. Now, that's not a trivial skill. It's a specialized discipline, really. And this self-sufficiency, it dramatically reduces that publishing friction. It saves immense resources.
Right.
And critically, it expands an author's reach to more readers without being totally dependent on external agencies or, big budgets. It's really a testament to the power of skill acquisition and, frankly, resilience in the creative world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine that process, writing in French, then doing the initial self-translation, then meticulously self-editing both versions for a clarity, consistency, impact. You wonder, what specific software might he be using for something this complex? Is he maybe using AI translation tools as a first pass, and then refining it with his own deep linguistic knowledge? This kind of self-reliance, it fundamentally shifts the power dynamic for independent creators. It lets them bypass those traditional gatekeepers, reach audiences directly. But wow, it demands an extraordinary breadth of skills, a true polymath approach to writing and publishing.
It really does highlight that constant battle against limitations, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Our author mentions this poignant detail. He has 4 books completed, but 3 of them. They're currently unedited, purely because of time constraints. You can almost feel the weight of that, can't you? The immense passion, the prolific drive to create is clearly there. But then you just hit this very real wall of practical logistics. It's a stark reminder, I think, that even with boundless talent and vision, time is often the ultimate gatekeeper for creative output. It's not just about the inspiration, it's all the perspiration involved in the entire pipeline.
Exactly. And this brings us squarely back to that broader theme, resourcefulness and sophisticated time management. These are just crucial for creators today. The author's journey really reflects a universal challenge for the modern creative. You have this immense passion, this ambition, but it frequently clashes with very practical limitations, which makes self-sufficiency in skills like editing not just valuable, but, almost essential.
Potential, yeah.
It's not simply about the act of writing anymore. It's about mastering the entire production pipeline, from conception right through to the final polish. When you can internalize more of those complex, often costly steps, you gain this remarkable degree of control over your output, your timeline, and ultimately your creative destiny. And that's the powerful thing in the independent publishing world, which is often just characterized by uncertainty and dependence on outside factors.
It certainly makes you reflect on the sheer perseverance required. For anyone listening who has a creative project, maybe it's a novel, a music album, launching a business, just imagine the discipline it takes, not only to bring that initial spark of an idea to life, but then to manage every single stage of the process, especially when you're dreaming of this global, multilingual impact. That's just a monumental undertaking. It demands not just talent, but an unwavering will and a really strategic approach to developing skills. Okay, so while our author is meticulously crafting words across languages, his gaze isn't only on the past or present of publishing. He's also intensely focused on the bleeding edge of innovation, specifically a piece of technology he believes could revolutionize how he works and maybe how all of us work. He's incredibly excited about a new pair of AR glasses. And it's very specific here. These are augmented reality, meaning see-through functionality. They're not virtual reality headsets, which totally immerse you. The brand he mentions is AOKid, and he sees them as a potential, genuine game changer for his workflow.
Indeed. And the core functionality he describes is quite intriguing. It holds some significant implications, I think. These AOKid glasses, they offer this crucial versatility. You can toggle between a see-through mode, which lets you stay aware of your real-world environment while also seeing digital overlays, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a private screen experience. In that mode, the real world is mostly obscured, giving you this focused, immersive digital display. Perfect for concentration. But here's the truly massive differentiator. These glasses run on a full Android OS.
Oh, well, okay.
Which means essentially any Android app you currently use on your phone or tablet can theoretically be run on these glasses. It instantly brings this vast, familiar ecosystem of tools and apps to a completely new form factor. It's not some walled garden. It's an open platform for mobile computing.
Right. And this is exactly where it becomes truly revolutionary for him. The most mind-blowing feature, as he describes it, is that it provides 3 virtual screens. He uses this powerful metaphor, really evocative, that stuck with me. I think it captures the essence perfectly. He says, imagine carrying 3 50-inch TV monitors in your pocket, wearable anytime you're stuck waiting at a cafe or on a train. Wow. That's not just about convenience, is it? That's a profound paradigm shift in how we even think about mobile workspaces and personal computing. It just shatters the limitations of physical screen real estate.
It absolutely does. And the author's vision for these glasses, it really delves into how they could fundamentally revolutionize work on the go, transforming that traditionally unproductive downtime into highly efficient work sessions. He pictures himself being able to do deep, focused work, not just, passive consumption during times previously considered dead time.
Like waiting for appointments, yeah.
Exactly. Waiting for appointments, commuting on a train or bus, even just grabbing a coffee. So instead of just pulling out your phone for a quick glance or getting distracted, you could be actively working across multiple virtual displays. He mentions specific applications for his own work, reading and annotating articles on one screen, drafting text for his books on another, and maybe even using advanced AI tools like ChatGPT on a third, all spread across these 3 immersive screens. This allows for genuine multitasking and deep work in environments that were previously just unsuitable for complex multi-window tasks.
Yeah.
It fundamentally redefines the whole concept of being at your desk.
And he's got this very specific use case in mind for his own creative output, which really brings it to life. He wants to write on the go, making the most of every spare moment. Combining these AR glasses with like a compact Bluetooth keyboard and a dedicated writing app. And in his search for the perfect mobile setup, he actually found an app called Moi Office. Apparently, it mimics Microsoft Office functionality pretty admirably. And crucially for him, it offers cross-platform sync between Android and Windows, which is essential, right, for maintaining a seamless workflow between his mobile setup and his main desktop.
That sync is key.
Yeah. So while it's not fully free, it serves as this practical, viable, and frankly powerful alternative for achieving serious professional-grade mobile productivity. It moves beyond just consumer entertainment into serious professional application. Just picturing trying to type on a tiny Bluetooth keyboard on a crowded train, 3 virtual screens floating around, hoping no one talks to me. But seriously, the idea of reclaiming those dead times is incredibly compelling.
It is a great image, and yeah, it touches on some of the practicalities, maybe even the social challenges of this kind of tech. This technology, as the author describes it, it really does blur the line between mobile productivity and immersive computing in a way we've mostly just dreamt about until now. And what's fascinating here isn't just the current capabilities, but the immense potential for future versions of these AR glasses, especially as they inevitably get more powerful, more RAM, larger internal storage, better optics. They could truly elevate into a mainstream computing paradigm, potentially changing how you approach work, creativity, even education in your everyday life.
Hmm.
First, you have to think about things like potential eye strain from wearing glasses for hours, or the challenges of glare outside, or even, like you hinted, the social implications. Being in a cafe with 3 virtual screens floating around you, what does that signal to others? But the author's compelling vision suggests the payoff outweighs these initial hurdles. Think about a student researching a complex topic. One screen for an academic paper, another for real-time notes, a third for an AI assistant clarifying concepts.
Wow.
Or a programmer debugging code across multiple environments simultaneously anywhere. The implications for focused, deep work in these transient environments are just immense. It forces us to rethink the very concept of a desk or a private workspace. It's about leveraging every spare moment, yes, but also about creating this personalized, high-fidelity computing environment that travels with you.
And what really elevates this beyond just cool tech for him, though, is that potential to entirely redefine our workspaces, isn't it? Breaking free from static desks, from traditional office setups. That seems to be a core driver here. It feels like a future that's not just around the corner, but rapidly becoming our present. Okay, so from the cutting edge of tech promising new levels of productivity, we're now taking a dramatic shift, almost jarring, really, into a much more personal, introspective aspect of the author's reflections, his very real struggle with insomnia. He describes how, during these restless nights when sleep just won't come, he turns to philosophy, not just as a distraction, but as a deliberate way to engage with and manage his mind.
It's a remarkable coping mechanism, deeply unconventional, you might say. He specifically mentions a philosopher named Émile, which is very likely a reference to the Romanian philosopher Emil Cioran. Cioran is known for his, well, profoundly bleak and often anti-humanistic worldview. He was a staunch advocate for anti-natalism. He famously believed that being born is the worst tragedy. His philosophy really embraces the fundamental meaninglessness of existence, often favoring non-existence over life itself. He even makes this stark, almost shocking claim, something like, every crime except giving birth is understandable.
Wow.
It highlights his extreme stance on suffering and the perceived inherent negativity, the burden of existence. It's a philosophy almost designed to tear down any illusions of inherent purpose or joy.
That is a stark worldview. But what I find truly striking and what the author points out is this profound paradox. Cioran, the guy who believed life was a tragedy, who advocated for non-existence, he lived to be 84 years old. Our author finds this longevity, given the philosophy, ironically amusing. Doesn't that almost undermine his own philosophy? Or does it maybe reveal something even deeper about human resilience, or perhaps denial?
That's a crucial question, isn't it? It really gets to the heart of the author's observation. It raises this important point. How do you reconcile such a severe philosophical stance that life is inherently unbearable, tragic, a mistake from birth, with the simple biological and very protracted act of living a long, full life? Is it a testament to our human capacity for resilience, for enduring even when facing profound intellectual despair? Or maybe it's just a form of acceptance, where the very act of articulating such despair becomes its own strange kind of meaning or purpose. Perhaps, in writing about the tragedy of existence, Cioran found his own reason to keep going. The irony certainly prompts us to consider what this dichotomy truly signifies about the human condition and our ability to endure, sometimes despite our own deepest intellectual convictions. It makes you wonder if just formulating such a radical philosophy provides its own unique, maybe even perverse comfort.
And building on this, the author delves into what he calls a strange therapeutic contradiction. He finds actual calm, something soothing, in listening to this deeply pessimistic philosophy, particularly Cioran, especially when he's feeling overstimulated, anxious, or just overwhelmed. It feels profoundly counterintuitive, almost like using a mental acid wash to cleanse a cluttered mind.
It truly is a fascinating paradox. We could maybe offer an analogy to try and illuminate this. Imagine it like a stormy lullaby. Cioran's nihilism, despite its grim outlook, it paradoxically soothes the mind of someone ambitious, maybe overstimulated, maybe high-achieving, by reminding them that, well, not everything needs to be achieved, not every battle needs to be won, and that in the grand cosmic scheme, maybe much of what we strive for is inherently inconsequential or even meaningless. Now, that perspective can offer a really powerful psychological mechanism. It's a form of radical acceptance that, while unsettling at first glance, can profoundly recalibrate your priorities. Think of it this way. In moments of extreme pressure, maybe you're overwhelmed by deadlines or expectations, could embracing a temporary, almost nihilistic view that, in the grand scheme, this specific struggle might be inconsequential, could that paradoxically free you to act with greater clarity and less emotional burden?
Interesting.
It's not really about giving up. It's more about a mental reframe that can strip away that paralyzing weight of excessive self-importance or needing external validation. It might allow you to focus purely on the task at hand without all the emotional noise. When everything is sort of reduced to nothingness, the individual pressures often just dissipate, leaving this strange, quiet space for the mind.
That's a profound thought. It really makes you reflect on your own unexpected sources of calm, doesn't it? Or unconventional coping mechanisms. Maybe it's not always about chasing happiness or constantly striving for more, but sometimes maybe it's about acknowledging the absurd or even the bleak to find a different kind of peace, a radical acceptance. It's about finding that mental reset button, even if that button is found in a philosophical tradition that seems, well, on the surface, to offer anything but peace. Now, to provide a crucial counterpoint to Cioran's nihilism, our author also reflects on Stoicism. He highlights the Stoic belief in intentionality, in virtue, as clear, actionable paths to a good life. He cites revered figures like Marcus Aurelius, whose meditations have guided countless people toward a purposeful, resilient existence. It's a very different approach to navigating life's challenges compared to Cioran's embrace of despair, isn't it? It focuses on what's within our control, rather than what isn't.
You're right, it's a stark contrast. And these two philosophical approaches, anti-natalism, like Cioran's, and Stoicism, they really represent a profound spectrum of human effort in making meaning from existence. One essentially accepts or even embraces meaninglessness and the inherent suffering of being, views life as a fundamental error, almost. The other, Stoicism, actively constructs purpose. It emphasizes profound control over one's internal reactions and judgments, not external events.
Right.
So it's the ultimate contrast. Radical acceptance of the void versus proactive construction of virtue. Both, however, offer a powerful framework for dealing with the often unpredictable, painful, chaotic nature of life, just from entirely different starting points. One seeks peace through detachment from desire, even existence itself. The other seeks it through disciplined engagement with virtue and reason in a world that's inherently indifferent. And what's fascinating is that the author seems to find a strange utility in both. Almost like two sides of a coin for mental resilience.
Yeah, that's interesting. And the author isn't naive about the practical application of Stoicism either. He knows that, well, not everyone lives a virtuous and intentional life. In his observation, many people, unfortunately, end up living lives driven by vices. Or they simply settle for mediocrity, sort of drifting through life without a clear, self-directed purpose. This isn't necessarily a judgment, more an observation that the Stoic path, while philosophically appealing and theoretically empowering, isn't universally adopted. It highlights that significant gap between philosophical ideals and the messy, often reactive nature of actual human behavior. It's one thing to read Marcus Aurelius, quite another to live like him, right?
Exactly. The execution is the hard part.
Okay, so from individual philosophy, our Stoic Samurai then broadens his lens quite significantly. He offers what he called a deep critique of modern society. And he doesn't hold back. He uses some pretty stark descriptors for many people he observes, even labeling them zombie robots or NPCs, non-player characters. What exactly is he implying with that NPC metaphor? And why do you think it's become such a, well, prevalent term lately?
That NPC metaphor is incredibly insightful in a way. And you're right, it has become increasingly prevalent. You see it in digital culture, in contemporary philosophical discussions. It's used to describe individuals who seem to lack autonomy or critical thought or maybe a distinct inner life. People who seem to just react to external stimuli, follow societal scripts, conform to trends, rather than acting with conscious intention or, self-driven purpose.
Right, passive.
Exactly. The author uses it to imply this passive existence, lacking genuine introspection. It speaks to a perceived mechanization or maybe superficiality of human behavior in certain aspects of modern life.
Yeah.
A sense that many are just going through the motions without true engagement or self-awareness. It's a harsh critique for sure, but one that resonates with a growing feeling of disillusionment for many observers of societal trends.
He also mentions an observation about declining testosterone levels in men, which he views as symbolic of declining masculinity and vitality. This is a point that, for him, seems to resonate with broader societal shifts and speaks to something deeper about the state of modern man, in his view.
Yeah, and this observation connects to those broader, often quite charged, societal discussions around gender roles and dynamics, including the author's perceived lack of male authority in relationships. Now, it's really important to clarify here. Our role is simply to impartially convey the author's viewpoint as it's presented in the source material. We're not endorsing or validating these specific claims about biological changes or their societal implications. But to understand the author's perspective, it's crucial to see why he links these ideas. He sees these shifts, this perceived decline in what he terms masculinity and vitality, as having significant, impactful consequences on how individuals relate to each other, particularly in romantic relationships, and how they navigate broader societal expectations. He seems to be suggesting a fundamental power shift, where traditional male roles and perceived authority are diminishing, leading to what he might see as confusion or maybe a vacuum of clear purpose. This viewpoint definitely reflects a segment of contemporary discourse that critiques modern gender dynamics and norms. And for the author, it's a concern that seems to underpin some of his broader observations about people acting as NPCs, maybe a loss of internal drive or direction.
And he even shares a specific personal anecdote that kind of illustrates how he navigates these complex modern social interactions. It offers a practical response to his societal observations. He recounts his decision to just not respond to a friend for an entire month because he perceived they were playing emotional games. So this isn't just a casual observation. It's a very practical, if maybe somewhat extreme, application of boundary setting in his own life. A way for him to maintain his integrity, his peace of mind, his autonomy, amidst what he sees as challenging and often manipulative social dynamics. It's really him putting his philosophy into action, regardless of how radical it might seem to others.
Absolutely. And what's truly fascinating here is how the author doesn't just identify these social shifts and critique them abstractly. He responds by drawing extremely clear, really firm personal boundaries. And this raises a crucial question for you, the listener. In this increasingly interconnected, often overwhelming world, where do you draw your boundaries? How do you protect your mental space and your sense of self?
That's a tough one.
Is the author's approach a month-long silence too extreme? Or is it maybe a necessary tool for navigating a world that often demands constant availability and can feel, as he perceives it, rife with emotional games? And how do we differentiate between healthy self-preservation and potentially just isolating ourselves from valuable social connection? It really challenges us to consider our own agency in shaping our social interactions, and to reflect on whether such a radical stance is a form of strength or perhaps a step towards deeper isolation.
Okay, let's bring that philosophical thread back now and connect these modern critiques with some ancient wisdom that really spans cultures and millennia. Our author refers to Buddhism and its core idea that life is suffering. That's a fundamental truth acknowledged by many traditions, isn't it? But one that Buddhism then offers a path to transcend.
That's a crucial point, yeah. And the author delves into this connection. He discusses how he relates Buddha's concept of the cessation of desire, the past to end suffering, to Cioran's worldview. He finds a parallel there, suggesting that both philosophies, in their own distinct ways, point towards this profound detachment from the world and its attachments as a way to escape pain, find some form of peace. He even makes a pretty provocative remark, something like, Jesus didn't go far enough in this respect.
Wow.
Which further illustrates the wide spectrum of human approaches to grappling with suffering and desire across different spiritual and philosophical traditions. It really highlights his relentless search for the most profound, fundamental answers to life's existential questions, even if those answers are uncomfortable or challenge conventional wisdom. He seems to be looking for the ultimate release from suffering, and he finds echoes of it in places like Buddhism and Cioran, while maybe critiquing other traditions for not taking it to what he sees as its logical conclusion.
And from these deep philosophical comparisons and critiques, he extracts this truly profound concept, the idea of subjectivity in everything. And flowing from that, the immense power of human opinion. This suggests that our perspectives, our internal interpretations of events, can fundamentally change everything for us. It shifts the locus of control away from external circumstances and puts it squarely onto our internal mental landscape. This seems like a really potent antidote, doesn't it, to both the despair of Cioran and the perceived passivity of those NPCs.
That's precisely it. And this is where we circle right back to a core Stoic tenet beautifully articulated by Epictetus, which the author profoundly resonates with. Epictetus famously stated, "It is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them."
Such a powerful line.
It really is. And it's not just a clever saying, it's a foundational principle. It provides this powerful counterpoint to both the bleakness of nihilism and those perceived flaws in societal structures. By placing agency firmly within the individual's control over their perceptions, their reactions, Stoicism offers this tangible path to inner peace and resilience, regardless of what the external world throws at you, even while acknowledging life's inherent uncertainty and absurdity, as the author does through his engagement with Cioran. This principle empowers us to find stability within ourselves. It asserts that our internal narrative, how we interpret, judge, and respond to reality, that is our most powerful tool for navigating the world, the events themselves. They're neutral. It's our opinion of them that causes our distress or our calm. It means that even in a world potentially full of zombie robots or suffering, your internal state is largely, fundamentally, your own making.
So what does this all mean for us? Well, it means our perspective is our most powerful tool. It means the way we choose to interpret the world, the opinions we form, truly dictate our experience, much more perhaps than the raw events themselves. It's a call, really, to examine and choose our beliefs wisely, to become active architects of our own inner world. Hashtag tag outro. Wow. Okay, what an expansive and definitely thought-provoking journey we've been on in this deep dive. We've covered so much ground today, all drawn from these vivid reflections of our Stoic Samurai. We started with that intense ambition, the self-sufficiency needed for independent, multilingual publishing. Now we shifted to the revolutionary potential of AR glasses, how they could entirely redefine our workspaces, our productivity. From there, we plunged deep into the philosophical arena, exploring that unexpected comfort found in extreme anti-natalist philosophy like Cioran's, using it like a stormy lullaby to manage mental overwhelm. Then we moved to that candid, sometimes pretty harsh critique of modern societal behaviors, observing everything from NPCs to shifting gender dynamics, all underpinned by the enduring wisdom of different philosophical traditions like Buddhism and Stoicism, especially that immense power of our own opinions. It's definitely a lot to chew on, but hopefully incredibly enriching for you.
Indeed. And just to synthesize the key takeaways for you, the listener, from this really rich tapestry. First, we saw the significant challenges, but also the innovative resourcefulness inherent in independent creation and multilingual communication, highlighting that invaluable role of self-sufficiency for any modern creator. Second, we explored the transformative potential of cutting-edge AR technology, not just as a gadget, but as a real paradigm shift for redefining mobile productivity and our whole concept of a workspace, making deep work potentially possible anywhere. Third, we discovered those surprising psychological benefits of engaging with the diverse, even extreme philosophies, using them as a means to manage mental states, finding unique forms of calm and perspective in unexpected places.
Yeah.
And finally, we engaged with that poignant call for critical reflection on modern societal trends, emphasizing the importance of cultivating individual purpose, setting clear boundaries, and, crucially, recognizing the immense power of our own opinions in shaping our experience of the world. Echoing that ancient Stoic wisdom, our judgments, not events, disturb us.
That's a truly comprehensive synthesis. And it's also incredibly liberating when you think about it, isn't it? So after diving into these profound reflections, from the hyper-efficiency promised by AR glasses to the profound acceptance of suffering in philosophy and that challenging critique of societal norms, here's a final thought for you. What single belief, technological tool, or perhaps personal boundary might you consider adopting or maybe challenging this week? Something to redefine your own sense of purpose, productivity, or peace of mind. Just think about that for a moment. Let that idea resonate as you go about your week. Perhaps it's about reclaiming some of that dead time, or reframing a persistent anxiety you have. Or maybe it's simply about choosing a different response to a challenging situation. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Welcome. I just have 3 minutes for the introduction. I'm gonna introduce to you my Stoic book. It's called A Stoic Samurai. I did write it in French. I did translate it into English. I really want to translate it into German, but I've never found the time to do that. When I find the time, there should be a 5th book available. That was my 4th book. It's the last one I could edit. The first 3 books, I did not have the time to edit them. I have to do all that work, but I don't know when I will find the time. When I find the time to go through the entire process, design the cover, publish it, I will. Then there will be a fifth book. This one is also edit, since now I can edit books before I could not, which is awesome. That's great. I'll show you the links. Here is the French version of my book. This is the English version of my book. You can get it. The link is in the description. Now my lesson with my poker teacher starts. I don't know what we are going to do. I had a very busy week, but we'll find out. He should be available in very short. Hello, Norman. How are you doing? You're early today.
Early, I'm actually on time today. Been a few minutes late for a while, for few weeks, I guess. Finally, I'm not late, but I'm good. I was sick last week. It was one of my toughest weeks I remember for a few years, with fever and everything. But now I feel like reborn. How are you? How have you been?
I've been great. I was very busy. I'm expecting a new gadget, which is interesting. Made me do a lot of research, find new stuff. My new gadget is smart glasses, but not the kind I have where you really look through. It's like augmented reality glasses. People use them a lot to watch TV or to play games. I already have a pair, but it's an old one. They made a new model, but do you know what those kind of glasses are? Have you already seen them?
I guess I've seen some virtual reality classes.
Not a virtual reality headset, because that's a huge thing. You really go into a different world with them. I'm talking about augmented reality glasses.
I guess they're a smaller version of them then.
Just Google Kid. You will find it on your computer. Then you see what I'm talking about.
Yes, I see pictures of it.
Okay, I did choose the spatial with the station. They have different models, but I did choose the last one that's available that recently came out. Do you see the one? Okay, you can either look through them and see still the world around you, or you can put something on top of them and everything gets black, just like a cover. You don't see the world around you. It's the first one that allows you to use any Android app because it's based on an Android OS. There are different kind of Androids. There's Android for your phone, there's Android for your car, and now there's also Android for your glasses. The idea is that you get 3 screens where you can work on, 3 different screens. Of course, Android is limited. It's not like Windows. You can do more stuff than on Android. I think you're using Windows, or are you using Mac right now?
Windows.
Linux is limited. You can have a Chromebook. You can still do a lot with it, but the OS that you can do most with, because most of the apps have been designed for, is Windows. They have a monopoly. Mac is very small, has only maybe 10% of the market share. It's interesting to me because there are a lot of apps available on Android. Since I will receive the glasses maybe at the start of next week, I did make a lot of research because I would like to be able to write on them. You can connect a Bluetooth keyboard, that should be fine, but I need an app that I can use for text editing, something like Microsoft Office. I need the equivalent of that. I actually did find an app that does exactly that. It's called Mobi Office. It looks very close to Microsoft Office. I don't think it has all the features, but all the basic features I think they are. It just works awesome on Android. When you write a document on Android, it syncs to the cloud, and then you can just open the app on Windows and you have it again. I think it's nice. The issue is it's not totally free, but you get a trial at the beginning. I've discovered a new app, but you have to do quite some research and think about how you're going to use a new OS, what you can do with it. My idea is just when I'm in town, or sometimes I arrive early to an appointment, I might be 15 minutes or 30 minutes early. Sometimes the person who I'm waiting for is late, then might be 15 or 30 minutes, the person might be late. I think if I can just put those glasses on and have 3 screens on which I can work, it would be awesome, because I could have one screen to read documents or write documents, do some editing. I could have ChatGPT on the other screen. I could have a third app, a communication app, whatever I want. 3 huge screens. They should be huge, because the old version of the glasses, the word-card glasses that I have are huge. The screen you get with is already like a big TV. But if you can have 3 screens like that around you, wherever you are, I think that's interesting for technology. The bad thing is that it only has 8 gigabytes RAM, that the hard disk is only 125 gigabytes. Both that is very low. It's a starting product. It will be improved. The next version will have 250 memory. 8 gigabytes will probably be then 16. It will get more powerful. For me, that technology is interesting because the issue with a PC laptop when you use it is when you're outside, there's a lot of sun. It is very hard to see the screen. But those glasses, especially if you put the black screen on it, should make it easier to see the screen. And you have more real estate with screens. For me, that technology is interesting. The good thing is I discovered a new app that is useful, that I can use. Actually, it might even be better than Office. I think I'll still use mainly the Office on Windows because it has all the features. But I could actually switch to MobiOffice, use MobiOffice instead. The small point of new technologies that arrive and I find interesting. What do you think about that?
Well, I wish you good luck. I hope it goes well, ends up being useful. Certainly interesting.
I have a money back guarantee. If I don't like the product, I can send it back.
One thing I wanted to say, I've been reading more of your book the past week when I was sick as well. It's reminded me that I share a lot of thoughts with Stoicism. Actually, the more I've read your book, the more I understand your views, and then there's more things I agree with. I think there's quite a lot of things I like or I share common thoughts on. That's good. Just wanted to share that it's been quite enjoyable to read it recently.
Thank you. I appreciate the feedback. That's very kind of you. It's awesome to hear that somebody sees some merit in my work. Thanks a lot for that. That's great, Norman. I go through phases where I have issues sleeping. My sleep cycle gets inverted. I think you can call them insomnia. It's just that sometimes I'm awake very long, like 18, 20 hours and more. Then when I finally can fall to sleep, well, my sleep cycle gets inverted. I might be even awake 25 hours straight, 24 hours straight. If you do that, your sleep cycle gets totally inverted. Now, the issue is I had to find something to do when I couldn't sleep. I've discovered a new philosopher. He's called Emile Cioran, but that's how you would say it in French. He's interesting because he had a very different kind of look on life than I do. He thought that the worst thing that happens, it's a real catastrophe, is to be born. He wanted non-existence. He wanted never to have seen the light of day. Thinks it's the worst thing that happens to a human being. His philosophy is deeply touched by that thought. When you read him, you think he would be very depressive, that he would be in psychiatric care because he only sees suffering in life. He thinks it's meaningless to do anything, that actually failure in life, when you don't succeed, are much better than success. He had a very different kind of about life than most people. Are you checking him online?
Yes, I'm laughing because he lived to be 84 years old.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that someone with his philosophy had to endure a very long life.
That's very strange because I even ask myself if he was sincere. Because if he thinks that life is so bad, why not just put an end to it? He goes to really extremes. He said, I have committed every crime except giving birth to a child. He goes to the conclusion that if he had a child, he would suffocate him immediately so that he doesn't have to go through a life. It's extreme. He goes to the end of his way of thinking and looking at life. I find it interesting that he was respected for his point of view, that they didn't use any violence against him, that they didn't put him in the mental health hospital or anything else. But if you say stuff like that you would kill a child if you had one, well, if you don't have a child, maybe it goes without any issue. But if not, there's a risk that the authorities come smashing in your door and put you in jail. Our society normally isn't very tolerant with that kind of thinking. What is great is even if I don't agree with him, that I could listen to him tonight. I tried to fall to sleep. First, I was reading my own book. And then I thought, okay, now I'm a little tired of reading. Let's listen to him, but an audiobook. Listen to one of his books on the audio version. And It is quite calming. For me, it's quite interesting because I want to do a lot. If you want to do a lot, you get burnout. It's like if you're like little maniac, you're too excited. You never come down, actually. And listening to him and letting him explain to me why nothing makes any sense and nothing should be desired or achieved. Buddha was right. For him, Buddha was right because Buddha recognized that life is suffering, that it has to stop. His entire idea is that you do not wish to be incarnated. You want the cycle of life to end. He agrees with that thought. He thinks that Jesus missed that. He says stuff like, even heaven wasn't something human could bear. That's why we are not in heaven anymore. It was unbearable for us. He doesn't like progress, technological progress, because he thinks that the new ways of living are even worse than the one we had before.
He's quite funny, yes.
It's very interesting. He calms you down, actually. When you listen to that, you say, don't worry, don't do anything, just lie down. Then you finally fell to sleep. For me, it's quite good. Even if I don't agree with him, my philosophy is totally the opposite of his. But I agree with a lot. There were ancient people, when somebody came alive, they were very sad. When he died, they were happy. And it just shows that everything for a human is opinion. We can totally change our way of thinking on any subject. And that's our power. If we use that power to our advantage, there's a lot we can do and a lot we can overcome. But I do agree. When a human sees the light of day, it is concerning because you don't know what he will become. If his life as a Stoic man doesn't turn out to be a virtuous life, a respectable life, if he's like everybody else, full of vices, does stuff of very little value to him or humanity, it's a sad thing. When somebody comes, sees the light of days, it's a subject for concern because you don't know how he will turn out. He could be a good person like Marcus Aurelius, or he could be very evil like Neron. You never know how he will turn out and what he will do with life. If you look at the crowds, nowadays there are a lot, I call them zombie robots, NPCs. If that's all you become and that's all you do your entire life, well, it's not a huge success story. It's not something you should be very proud of. Robots, zombies, NPCs, just people who always do the same thing. They are non-player characters. They always just do what they are told to. It has consequences. For example, our testosterone level did drop a lot in the last century. We are less male than we were in the past. And it shows when you look at a relationship, for example, between a woman and a man, normally a man should have some authority. I don't see any relationships where any man has any authority anymore. My friend Marianne, she did some stupid stuff with me. Now she's not really blocked, but I won't answer any of her messages for 1 month because I have to put the line somewhere. When she plays stupid games, I have to tell her that she went too far. The thing she does is just stupid. She told her husband that she's going to go for a walk with me in the parks. Her husband always gets mad when she says that. And it was never planned. She made up bullshit. And then I see her husband in the streets and he asked me how the walk was with his wife. I said, it was never planned. I haven't seen your wife. She puts me in a difficult situation with her husband. She does this on purpose for one reason or another. Why do I talk about us? I talk about that because just when I try to explain to her husband that I haven't met her and I have no idea what she's doing, 5 or 10 minutes later when I'm talking, because I just met him in the entrance of my building since he's my neighbor, I was explaining to him that I haven't seen his wife. It was never planned that we go for a walk. And then she suddenly arrives. Because she effectively did go for a walk. And she suddenly arrives and she directly starts talking with me. And her husband keeps complaining that she goes for a walk. But here's what she does. She shows like this extreme of the building and she says, disappear. And he stops insisting and he walks out of the building. He actually behaves more like a man than he. Even though she only has running through her veins, the female hormone, she still behaves more like a man than he actually does. That's a strange thing that our society has evolved that much, that males have lost all the courage and all the testosterone. Whatever somebody tells them, their wife or the government, they always obey. That's a kind of definition for me of the robot zombies species I talk about. It's not good for society because when I bought the rocket classes, there were a couple of mistakes. It's just a second pair of glasses that I bought. The first one, I had no issue by buying them. Everything went smoothly. But this time, the buying button on the side wasn't working. I could not buy. I pressed the buying button, but nothing happened. Then I had to tell support, and they did send me an invoice, and I paid the invoice. But then I lost more than 1 week with them explaining to me that they cannot enter my address in their system. There was one more bug. The guy made me wait now 2 weeks. He made me wait 2 weeks until he finally fixed the bug and was able to send off the package. Now, he could just have to give it to FedEx, DHL, and send it off. But he wouldn't do it because he has a protocol to follow. And he has first to enter my address in the system. And once it's in the system, then he can send it off. That's the robot zombie NPCs. They always go by protocol. They always just obey and do what they are told to. They never think for themselves. And they never try to overcome an obstacle. In life, for me, life, you have to overcome obstacles. And as I told you, I don't believe that cheating exists. You just have obstacles in front of you, and you have to be able to overcome them. Whatever tool you use, it isn't called cheating. It's called finding a solution to an issue. And it makes your life better if you find a solution, if you overcome an obstacle. And it makes also the life better of everybody on Earth. But if you just follow a protocol without ever thinking, without ever asking questions, it's really bad. For example, history is interesting, but only if you think about history. And only if you don't agree 100% with what they say, because it's just one version. A guy has written that, but he probably has never spent any time with Caesar or Neron or Napoleon or any other person we talk about. He probably has never spent any time with them. The analysis and the psychological profile you can do of those kind of people can be very different. You can have a very different kind of view, but you have to think, and you have to have some critical thinking, some analytical thinking. And of course, a lot of research comes into it. But if you're just a teacher in school and you just repeat what they tell you, that's only propaganda. It will not really do anybody any good. Nowadays, there's point in doing that since ChatGPT can do it much better than they will ever be able to do it. Any feedback on all that? My monologue?
Well, I'm not quite sure what to say, but it's interesting, yes. I guess nothing very interesting comes to mind for me to say at this moment.
For me, it's just interesting to find new technologies and new ways of using my smartphone and so on. And I find it interesting to see how people behave.
You never know what happens or what you will get. I understand, yes. It can be interesting and tough sometimes also.
Technology goes very fast. I can now create debates. I can produce an article, transform it in a podcast, but now I have the possibility to create debates. It's quite interesting because sometimes I like them actually debating a subject. For example, one of the subjects I did debate was if in life, if you should more think about internal stuff or external stuff. But the debate was not actually that clear. It was how to live your life. Is there only meaning if you do something for other people? You can only find happiness in that? Or can you only find happiness if you care about your internal peace, your internal feelings? I found that interesting, that kind of debate. Somebody like Emil Cioran, he would argue that both of those things won't make you happy. He would say that it's better to do nothing than to do anything. It's quite interesting to me.
Yes, it sounds like an interesting philosopher, you're right.
That's one of the reasons why I have a YouTube channel, because I get exposed to a lot of new stuff and then I can read about it. None of my friends ever talked about Emil Cioran, and I would have never come across his name if I hadn't that YouTube channel. And that to me is enriching. Different perspective, different philosophers, different ideas, new stuff like technology. All that I think is interesting. But if you follow philosophy, you try to do nothing, just sit in a room and watch the clock and see time passing by. Think about how much you suffer. I don't think there's much happiness, much joy in that. But he was an interesting guy. I would have liked to have a talk with him, see why his vision of life is so extremely dark. I understand that actually you're in a better position when you are dead than alive, because fortune has no more impact on you and you cannot be hurt by any event or anything. You have no desires that you try to feel and make you unhappy, because you cannot feel them. Even if you extinguish them, new desires show up. All that takes an end with death. I understand that because of that, death is actually a better situation for a human being than being alive. But still, I think there's a way of living life that is respectable and worth of admiration and praise. I don't think it has to be rejected 100%. In a book, actually, you can pretend being whatever you want. It's like acting up to a certain degree. I think he was sincere, Émile. It would have been very interesting to have a discussion with it. Norman, let's talk the monologue, unless you have something to add, to switch to some poker, if you agree.
How long does it take you to play one tournament?
It depends how many hands I play.
You can still answer my question without having an exact answer for it.
I would say 25, 45 minutes.
Let's review this.
I didn't 3-bet him. I thought it wouldn't change anything. Do you agree with that?
Your hand's not super good to 3-bet. I think you made good play here to call.
But I get a little 3-bet.
That's not a problem.
Here's one more. Now the guy was all in.
Yes, good on him to punish the mini 3-bet. Did everyone fold? Show. Yes. Okay, good. Let's see next one. This looks to be missing because now you're on the button. Wow, very interesting. Can you explain?
I think he had nothing. He would fold. I wanted to give him some time to catch up.
I can see that. What do you think he has then? What sort of a hand? Can you give me an example of nothing?
I think you call it a Broadway cards, picture cards.
All right, okay. Something like king, queen, jack, something like that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would he fold those hands? He would have 2 overcards. If you don't bet very big, would he fold them?
Oh, he probably would call.
Okay. Then was there a reason to slow play if he would not fold?
No, there was not.
Okay. Still kind of interesting play. Actually, I don't hate it. In my mind, though, it is a bit dangerous. What's the cards? I'm worried about 3 turn cards. Do you know what cards I have in mind?
You worried about a straight.
Okay, which 3 turn cards am I worried about then?
You worried about a 6.
Yes, the most worrying for me is a 6. Okay, what else?
And a 9.
There's another one I'd be worried about.
A 4, 6.
You said a 6, a 4 I would be as well. An 8 or a 7 would also be sort of weird. That's another reason that, there's a lot in the pot. If he folds, you will win this pot. You will be in second place with quite a lot of chips, 35 big blinds. But now you playing this tricky way, you can either win a lot more or you could possibly lose a lot more. To me, it's a risky game to play, especially against someone with more chips than you. So in my mind, if you reversed who has however many chips, and if you had the chips player 3 has, and they had how many chips you did, I could see more of a reason for a play like this where you could never go out of the tournament. But this player has 10 more chips than you. My general advice and mindset in these moments is I don't want to play too tricky in those scenarios. Does that make some sense to you?
You don't want to take the risk that he ends up making a straight, because everything else are 3 of a kind. But I don't think he has 3 of a kind. You might have a draw to a straight, but I am not scared about anything.
Okay, well, let's see how this hand progressed on the turn.
But I understand it's taking a risk, because if it turns ugly, if a king comes, he starts betting. I think, okay, I win. I'll go all in. Then he ends up having a straight. I'm out of the game. I understand that that's a risk I take. You're right.
No. To me, that's not the issue. That's not an issue to me. Because if a king comes, then that means they had a straight before a king. But what worries me is what if a 6 comes and then he starts betting? Then suddenly what do? You just fold your aces?
Then I will have to fold my aces.
Now, I think it's better to take the pot down now instead of having to fold it.
It's just, I thought that the probability of that happening is very low. That's why I didn't do it. I'm not sure he plays many 6s in his position. If a 6 comes, but then he would have played a 6. You're correct. Because
what I worried him What exactly a 9? Sometimes a 4, but mostly a 9, exactly.
Okay.
Can we get a good turn here? Did he start betting? He did. He's betting small. I would just go all in at this moment. The problem with raising this, look at the pot odds he needs. Here's the thing, even whatever he has, pretty much whatever he had, even if he knew you had aces, he probably hasn't called. The pot's 23. You also have 16 extra he could win. So if you add all this together, he could win something like 40 big blinds. And he has to risk just 3 more at this moment. Even if he has just 3 outs at this moment, he could carry on. To me, you're playing it in a very risky way.
But 3 outs, would that make him win the game? What are 3 outs? Kings? He has a king?
I don't know what he has, right? But if he has 2 spades, you are giving him excellent price with a flush draw. It's a queen, then he has 9 outs. If he has a queen, let's say he has queen 10, then how many outs does queen 10 have?
We have 3 outs.
No, that is incorrect. Queen 10 could improve with 2 ways for queen 10 to improve.
You can make a straight.
No, that's incorrect this case. Queen 9 could make a straight, but queen 10 cannot. What's a good river card for queen 10 to beat your hand?
A 10.
Okay, that is 3 outs, but there's another good card. Queen 10.
A queen.
A queen. That's another how many outs?
It's 2 outs.
Okay, so combined they would have how many outs?
5 outs.
They would have 5 outs, which equals around, well, a little more than 10% here.
Yes, correct.
Okay, but all this, it doesn't seem super dangerous, but these are just some examples. Some hands have more outs, like the flush draw, or queen 9 would have more outs, and some hands have fewer outs. But with the way you raised here, he doesn't need many outs to continue.
But I wanted him in the pot. I didn't want him to fold because I thought it's so strong. I can take the risk.
Well, what is so strong? I mean, if you had 100% to win the hand, that's strong. Anything else is still speculation.
Okay.
But okay, let's see. How did
Okay.
hand go? What did he do? He called. Okay, on the river, what happened here?
Oh, this is a very ugly river for us.
What did they do?
He only
Okay,
checks.
Did you decide to value bet or check here?
I think I went all in.
Okay,
Right.
almost all in. Yeah, looks like your aces are good. And he folded, I guess. Even though this went well, in my mind, you gave him, to me, you were too greedy. You were trying to win a lot of chips. You won more chips than probably 5, what I recommend. You go make bigger raise, you go all in, he folded there. We probably won 5 or something chips more, but you introduced the likelihood that you could be beat, right? Which if a 6 comes, if some other cards have come, it would have possibly, even this river, this time he didn't have a flush. Next time he might, and then he goes all in the river. Then would you be prepared to fold your aces? I don't want to be too harsh. I mean, this went well. It's just because you have a better hand doesn't mean that there isn't risk involved. I would rather try to get a more guaranteed pot 1 than to play in a way where I don't want the opponent to fold and potentially get myself in trouble.
Understand. I did get too greedy. But the thing is, I fold so much already that sometimes it's hard to only fold, or it's hard here only make 13.62. Was 13.62?
That's a lot. It's a lot, no.
But it's nearly the double I made.
Yes,
I know.
but 12.
I know. I took a lot of risk. I'm aware of that. You're correct. Next time when it's scary, straight comes, I won't take that much risk. Yeah, I go for 2/3 of a pot. 2/3 of a pot, and then he folds, and I make my 13.62.
Okay, let's see the next hand. 10-2, okay, you fold this. Now let's keep going forward. 6-4 fold, 6-8 fold, 2-4. Okay, another aces. Let's see what happened here. Again, I think you're being too, well, why not raise it to, you don't want to make it 5 and scare him away. I understand. But surely there's a medium in the middle. Going 1 more to me is being too reckless with this. I mean, it's better for you to raise more here. I think you should have gone at least 3 here. Maybe more, maybe 3.5 or 4. To me, this is too small of a raise. Again, he's getting such good odds. He just needs 18% to win, to call your raise. Here's my question for you. If he has one moment.
Actually, what I do here, I never do that when I'm trading because I think my edge is not that great. I never know the outcome. Sometimes I get stopped out a lot of times. I don't want to take the risk of suddenly taking a much bigger position. I never do that in trading. But here, for me, I just want him to get mad. Go all in. Player 3. Go all in. I'm a favorite. I might win that pot. Why is that not good? Because I could also go out of the tournament, yes. But if I only win close to nothing, how I'm going to end in top 3? If I only make here 3.55. I don't think that's enough to be first, second, or third place. Get
We're
into the
currently
battle.
third place. We're currently third place. If you win this pot, you will be second, I believe. I understand your point. You don't want him to fold. To me, it's just too small of a price. I would have made it more. But carry on, see what happens. And he
wouldn't.
folded, actually. You see, sometimes trying to be tricky like this can even look obvious to the other person. Like this person is raising so small that it's ridiculous they decided to fold. Sometimes a smaller raise can look stronger than a bigger raise.
But then he's a good player. I'm not sure about that, but you might be right.
Well, let's carry on here. 5-3.
Is that not the guy I faced before with my other aces? Wasn't it the same player?
I'm not sure. I don't know. A lot of players gone. Okay, queen 4, go on. Although, let's see what happens this queen 4. Okay, we can move on. Next one.
More Norman. Didn't record the last hands.
Understand. We close this wing. Okay. I think you can skip this hand. Let's see Jack 8 during the big blind. We get a free flop with 4 opponents. Looks good. Not a great flop for our hand. Let's see what happens. There's a player who bets. Go on. I should fold here. Okay, good. Let's see next hand. Small blind, if that's still in here. Okay, next one. I agree. Next, okay, good hand on the button. I don't like this play. I would have liked you to do what?
5x?
Why won't I like 5x?
Because you think somebody would call?
Yes, I don't think everyone will fold, and our hand is not a hand that wants a big pot here. It's not like we have ace-jack or a good hand. We have just 10-8 suited. What would I want you to do?
Limp.
Yes, limp along with those other players. You're getting very good odds. You can afford one big blind, and you have a hand that if everything goes well, you will be a big chip leader with a ton of chips. You could possibly guarantee yourself spot in top 3. Now, you will need to make a straight or a flush for that, or 2 pair or trips or something like that. But 10-8 suited is a good hand to do all of that stuff. It's a good hand to make straights. It's a good hand to make flushes. And for one big blind, that seems like the perfect opportunity for this hand. And also you're on the dealer button. So every street, you get to see what everyone else does before you. If you had 5-6 suited in the same situation, what would I want you to do then?
I think you also want me to...
Yes,
limp.
exactly. I'd also wanted to speculate for one big blind with 5-6 suited. What would I want you to do if you had pocket 2s?
You also want me to speculate.
I also wanted to speculate. What if you would have something like king 6 suited?
You want me to fold.
No. Well, king 6 suited is a bit worse, but even a hand like that, I think you could call here for one big blind. A lot of hands. Any hand that's somewhat nice, I would want it to enter this multi-way pot in position, expecting to lose this one big blind a lot. If you do what I'm recommending, you might lose this one big blind 10 times like this. Go from 73 to 63. But it just takes one time to go well, and one of these players to make a big mistake with their top pair or with their whatever hand they have, then you could have a huge reward for it. Basically, I'd wanted to enter more of these pots where the entry is very cheap. Entry is just one big blind, and have faith in your skills, have faith in your ability to read the board and all those things. There's no expectation, really. It's one big blind. If you fold the flop, that's fine. Can we see how this played out even though you folded?
But are you telling me this because I'm on the button? If I would be hijack, would you still say the same if I'm facing two limpas?
Well, I would want you to limp sometimes, but less often. On the button, small blind also. A small blind is big blind. Big blind every hand you would play in this scenario because they're not raising your big blind. Small blind, I'd want it to be extremely wide because it's only half a big blind more. The dealer button, also quite wide because you're in position on the dealer button. All these hands I mentioned. Now, before dealer button, I'd want it to be a little bit more selective. Maybe fold 10-8 suited in the hijack. But if you had 10-9 suited, then limp that. A hand that looks especially pretty, like 10-9 suited, that even limp in hijack. A hand like pocket 2s or pocket 3s, that also limp in hijack. 10-8 suited, that hand, yes, probably hijack, let it go. Only play small blind or button. But something like 10-9 suited, pocket 2s, those limp along anyway.
Okay, thank you, Norman.
Go on, let's see how this hand played out. The previous one, the 10-8 one, I want to see how this played.
I did fold.
Just go forward. Let's see what happened. Wow, what a flop would have been for you. A flush draw and a 10. Okay, let's go forward. We could have called the flop. Okay, now turn you had a straight draw. You could call one big blind on the turn. Okay, not pretty bad river. Go forward. Wow, one guy had aces. One guy had king 6 suited, which I said. You avoided a big disaster this time folding. You would have lost a few more big blinds. Over the long run, I would like you to play a hand like this. But this time went well for you. Let's see the next hand. It's king 3 you're folding, I assume. So 8-6 you're folding. Go on. Ace king. Okay, let's see this one. Wow. We see a very big raise. You're re-raising. Now, why? What do you want to happen?
Want him to fold.
Will he ever fold? I don't think he'll ever fold. I know we just saw this ridiculous hand. Someone put one big blind, you made two big blinds, and they folded. I don't think player 6 is ever folded. If you want him to fold, you would have to go way more than this. He already put 5, now he's asked 4 more, right? That's something like you do 5th grade, then someone asks you, can you do 4th grade? You actually ask him for a lesson amount that he just put on the table. He just put 5 on the table. Now he has to put 4, is what you're asking him. I don't think he will fold. In my mind, I would have been okay if you just called this. If you're like, hey, I have ace king, it's not aces, I'm gonna play it safe. I'll leave myself room to walk away. If you had just called this, I would have been okay with it. If you re-raised big, went all in, tried to put maximum pressure, I would have said, okay, it's fine. I mean, you do have ace king if you go for a big 3-bet all in. But this one, to me, looks like it's not gonna scare him and make him fold. So it's just making everything a little bit even more dangerous. I don't really like this. Does it make sense what I'm trying to convey?
Yeah, I understand, Norman. Thank you.
Okay, let's see how it proceeds. Okay, 8-8-5. There's a good chance no one has anything on this board, right? But you
Yes.
didn't want to bluff because people don't like folding either. I understand that. Okay, I'm okay what's happening here. Let's see the next card. We don't really like a 10 here. Okay, now someone bets big. I think it's time to let this one go. All right. Okay, the last one was a bit interesting line here. I mean, you are 7th in chips. They do have a lot of chips. Would you ever consider calling this in the small blind? You're getting 3-1. You should be fine if you can win this 1 in 4 times. Or that seems too loose to you. What do you think?
The 1 in 4, you said? Not 1 in 3.
1 in 4 times, if you win it, it will be.
Then I would be break even.
Then it would be break even, exactly. I feel with this hand, I think all options seem close. Even all in seems pretty good. Because we need more chips. We're 7th place. And player 4 could have a bad hand and just fold. could have just queen 10 and fold. I know you have a little more than 15 big blinds. I know usually you go all in if you have 15 or less, but we're not always going to have a perfect number. And we have a pretty good hand. We probably have a better hand than player 4 has. And we are 7th place. And if he folds, we win pretty good chips. 5 chips in the middle almost. I like something about the all-in. I even see like to call 1.5 more. Seems okay. Not like I'm a big fan of that. Folding really, I don't know, folding seems quite tight with this. Again, it's not bad. I think all options are close here. But I feel tempted this hand to do something. It seems like we have the best hand at this moment. I feel like we should at least call or potentially go for all in to try to get something going so that, because currently we're 7th place. Does that make some sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Norman.
Okay, can we see how it played out, what they had? Okay, that's all. I do have to unfortunately stop today for this, say the goodbyes here, because there's another, which sometimes happened in the past, that someone schedules almost directly after our lesson. In 4 minutes, someone from Germany who's played poker 18 years, who said they've been doing quite well this time, although they played poker as a hobby. But recently they feel, I think he said like last year or something, they haven't been doing well. I'll try to figure out what I can to help him with that. I know you had energy. I know you wanted to do more, but that's all I can do for today.
No worries, Norman. It is awesome. We had a long lesson, so don't worry. Thank you a lot for looking at my hands and giving me my feedback on my book and listening to me talk about Cioran
And the new glass.
and his vision of the world. I think I will have them for my next lesson. I can tell you what I think about it. Technology is awesome because before that, you only could have an office suite. You needed a Windows machine or a Mac machine or at least Linux to have Office. But now you can also have it on Android. That's quite nice, I think. Thanks a lot for everything. I hope your lesson goes well. I wish you the best. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All good. Bye.